In the quiet suburb of Boston, on Maplewood Lane, stood the Brown family's white two-story house. On a weekend morning, Melissa Brown was busy making pancakes in the kitchen while holding her cell phone between her shoulder and ear. "Yes, Jennifer, I can show you the new construction on Birchwood Street tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Melissa said while skillfully flipping pancakes. "Yes, it has 3 bedrooms and is in an excellent school district. See you tomorrow." After hanging up, Melissa took a deep breath. Her job as a real estate agent was dizzyingly busy, with no time to rest even on weekends. But today was special, her daughter Lily's 12th birthday. Melissa piled the pancakes onto a plate. "Lily. David. Breakfast is ready." With the sound of footsteps running down the stairs, a young girl with long chestnut hair appeared. Lily's brown eyes sparkled brightly even in the morning. "Happy birthday, my precious daughter," Melissa embraced her tightly. 12 years old. "It seems like just yesterday when you were a tiny baby." "Mom, I'm not a child anymore," Lily said, smiling happily though slightly embarrassed. Soon after, David came downstairs wearing a t-shirt and jeans. "Happy birthday, princess," David lifted Lily in his arms. The three discussed their plans while eating breakfast. Melissa would go to work for just the morning, David and Lily would pick up the cake, and Melissa's mother Eleanor would arrive around 11 to help with preparations. Eleanor spent a lot of time with her granddaughter Lily. Since losing her husband 10 years ago, Eleanor's affection had been redirected toward her daughter's family. While outwardly kind and thoughtful, she was subtly critical of Melissa's parenting methods and work-first lifestyle. As planned, when Melissa returned from work, the house was already prepared for the party. In the kitchen, Eleanor was preparing finger foods. "Finally back, Melissa?" Eleanor's voice carried a slight hint of sarcasm. "Important client?" "A new client," Melissa tried to ignore her mother's criticism. "Thanks for the preparations." "Of course. It's my precious granddaughter's birthday," Eleanor said. "David is such a wonderful father. If only you spent more time at home, everyone would be happier." Melissa took a deep breath and swallowed her counterargument. Today was Lily's day. The party ended successfully, and after all of Lily's friends had left, it was time for a quiet family dinner. "Now, it's time for a special present," Eleanor took out a small wrapped box. "Lily, a special gift from Grandma." Lily excitedly opened the box and her eyes lit up when she saw the latest smartwatch inside. "Grandma. This is exactly what I wanted. It's the latest model, you can make calls, send text messages, and even take photos," Eleanor explained proudly. Melissa frowned. "Mom, that's quite expensive. Besides, we had agreed to wait until Lily was older before giving her a smart device." "Times have changed," Eleanor dismissed Melissa's concerns. "All children have them nowadays." That night, Melissa explained the rules for using the new device to Lily. Lily happily agreed, but a few days later, Melissa began to notice strange changes. Lily, who had initially been delighted to wear the smartwatch, suddenly stopped wearing it. The device remained in a drawer in her room. Additionally, Eleanor's visits increased, especially when Melissa was absent. About 10 days later, on a weekday afternoon, Melissa finished work early and returned home. The house was quiet when she entered, and she could see from Lily's school bag on the sofa that her daughter had returned home. "Lily?" Melissa called while climbing the stairs. "I'm home." Lily's door was slightly ajar. Peeking in, Melissa saw Lily sitting on the bed, playing games on a smartphone. The smartwatch from Eleanor lay unused on the bedside table. Lily looked up and smiled, but her smile seemed to hide some worry. Melissa sat down on the bed beside her daughter and put her arm around Lily's shoulder. "Have you finished your homework?" "Yes, math and science. I finished everything due tomorrow." "That's good," Melissa gently stroked Lily's hair while casually glancing toward the smartwatch. "You don't seem to be wearing Grandma's present lately." Lily's expression stiffened momentarily. "Oh, that. Don't you like it?" Melissa asked gently. "If you want a different type, we can tell Grandma. I'm sure she'd be happy to exchange it if it makes you happy." No, it's not that. Lily answered, fidgeting with her smartphone uncomfortably. Melissa was puzzled. Normally, Lily was a child who spoke frankly about her feelings. This behavior was very unusual. Is there a problem? Did someone at school tease you about it? No, Lily denied firmly. I just don't want to use it anymore. Melissa felt increasingly concerned. Why? Grandma specially chose it for you. Lily remained silent, her gaze fixed on the floor. The silence hung in the room, and Melissa's worry only grew. Lily, Melissa gently lifted her daughter's chin to meet her eyes. Won't you tell me what happened? If you're worried about something, I want to know. Lily bit her lip, seeming to hesitate. I'm afraid if I tell you, it might make things bad between you and Grandma. Whatever it is, it's not your fault, Melissa assured her. My relationship with Grandma is for us to handle. You don't need to worry about that. Lily still hesitated. Melissa tried a different approach to ease her daughter's anxiety. First, can you just tell me why you suddenly stopped wearing the smartwatch? Lily was silent for a long time. Eventually, she said in a small voice, it shows weird notifications. Weird notifications? Melissa frowned. What kind of notifications? I didn't notice at first. But when I was looking at the settings, I found that recording, location tracking, and lots of other things were automatically turned on. Lily's voice trembled. Then a message appeared saying, connected to Eleanor. Melissa's heart began to race. Eleanor, you mean Grandma? Lily nodded slowly. So I got scared and didn't want to wear it anymore. But I couldn't tell Grandma. Melissa took a deep breath. Could I see that watch now? Lily took the smartwatch from the table and handed it to her mother. Melissa took it and pressed the power button, but there was no response. The battery seems to be dead, Melissa said. Where's the charger? Lily retrieved the charger from a drawer and handed it over. Melissa connected the smartwatch to the charger and waited for it to power on. Why won't you wear it? Melissa asked Lily. Will you tell me the truth? After a moment of silence, Lily looked directly into her mother's eyes with determination and said, You'll understand if you try it on. Those words made Melissa uneasy, but she needed to know the truth. The smartwatch screen lit up and made a startup sound. How do I use it? Melissa asked her daughter. Just turn it on and then put it on your wrist, Lily's voice was strangely calm. But Mom, don't be shocked. Melissa laughed awkwardly at her daughter's concern as she fastened the smartwatch to her left wrist. Like this? At that moment, the smartwatch emitted a notification sound, and text scrolled across the small screen. Recording resumed. Connecting to Eleanor's device. Melissa felt the blood drain from her face. She stared at Lily. This is... Wait, Mom, Lily quickly said. There's more. Lily manipulated the smartwatch screen to display a list of apps. There was an unfamiliar app called Family Watch. When Lily tapped it, a list of folders appeared. Everything is in here, Lily said in a small voice. The recordings. Melissa's hand trembled. The folders contained files organized by date, with the most recent from 3 days ago. She nervously tapped the first file. Immediately, her own voice and her husband David's voice came through the small speaker. Today's meeting was really exhausting. The new client is difficult. It was a private conversation they had in their bedroom last week. Melissa hurriedly turned down the volume. When she tapped the next file, a conversation between her and David in the kitchen played, discussing household finances and neighborhood concerns, very personal topics. Lily, when did you find this? Melissa asked in a shaking voice. Last week, I got a message from Grandma, and when I looked at the screen, strange notifications appeared, Lily replied. At first I thought the settings were wrong, so I investigated and found this app. Then, I got scared. Melissa continued checking more files. Recordings were saved almost daily, capturing conversations from various places in the house. The living room, kitchen, bedroom, it had captured almost all conversations taking place in their home. But this is strange, Melissa said in confusion. There are recordings from times when Lily wasn't wearing the smartwatch. How? Lily shrugged slightly. I don't know. But it seems like it can record just by being placed somewhere, as long as it's charged. Melissa opened a file from a few days ago. It contained a recording of her and David talking late at night about work stress. There was even a part where Melissa said, "Mother is really critical and exhausting." Suddenly, a chill ran through Melissa's entire body. She removed the smartwatch and placed it on the table. Her wrist felt burning hot. "Lily," Melissa said in a trembling voice. "Thank you for telling me. You've done nothing wrong." Lily moved closer to her mother. "Mom, are you okay? You look pale." Melissa took a deep breath and embraced her daughter's shoulders. "I'm fine. I just need to have a little talk with Grandma." As she stared at the smartwatch, terrible thoughts crossed her mind about how much this small device had been hiding, and the true intentions behind her mother Eleanor's actions. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Melissa and David sat facing each other in the living room. The problematic smartwatch lay on the table between them, intimidating them like a bomb. Melissa had just finished telling David all of her discoveries. "Unbelievable," David said, his face changing color. "Why would she do such a thing?" "I don't know," Melissa held her head in her hands. "Mother has always been critical, but I never imagined she'd go this far." David picked up the smartwatch and stared at it intently. "This isn't just surveillance. It's a deliberate and calculated invasion of privacy. Eleanor must have a reason for doing this." "What kind of reason could she possibly have?" Melissa said bitterly. "We need to find out," David said with determination. "This doesn't seem like merely excessive monitoring from an overprotective grandmother." The two talked late into the night, analyzing Eleanor's recent behavior patterns, her frequent visits to the house when Melissa was absent for work, her unnaturally kind behavior toward David, and her gradually increasing criticism of Melissa's parenting and career. The accumulation of small incidents now began to take on an ominous meaning. "We need to investigate further," Melissa stood up. "I want to know what she's planning." The next morning, after Melissa had sent Lily off to school, she and David began their investigation. David first opened his computer and started checking his email account in detail. "Do you have something in mind?" Melissa asked. "I've felt like I've been receiving more emails from Eleanor these past few months," David said while scrolling through the screen. "Here it is." He showed Melissa the screen. It displayed a series of emails. They appeared harmless on the surface, but upon closer reading, had subtle implications. "David, I forgot to mention after our conversation the other day, regarding Melissa's birthday present, she seems too busy to notice your feelings. Poor you. Someone as thoughtful as you deserves more appreciation. I'm concerned about how tired you are when you come home from work. Does Melissa properly understand your struggles at the company?" The color drained from Melissa's face. "Is Mother trying to drive a wedge between you and me?" "Wait, there's more." David opened another folder. It contained messages that he hadn't directly replied to. The content was more explicit. "You deserve a more understanding partner. Melissa seems to prioritize her career over family. Your parenting approaches don't seem to align either. I wish I had met a man like you when I was younger. Melissa doesn't properly appreciate your charm and value. I could cherish you much more." "This is creepy," David frowned. "When I received these messages, I thought they were just excessive concern or strange expressions. That's why I didn't reply. But now thinking about it, Mother is interested in you?" Melissa said in disbelief. "It's not just that." David stood up and brought an old hard drive from his study. "This is a backup from last month when I switched to a new computer for work. Let's check it just to be sure." The two began examining the files. And they were speechless at what they found. There were photos that Eleanor had sent to David. On the surface, they appeared to be casual family gathering photos, but her clothing and posture clearly had seductive elements. And numerous text messages elevating herself while comparing with Melissa. Mother has been trying to destroy my marriage all along, Melissa's voice trembled with shock. But why? Let's check the recordings on the smartwatch, David suggested. We need to know what she's been listening to and how she's using it. The two carefully listened to recordings from the past few weeks stored on the smartwatch. They contained everything from ordinary daily conversations to moments when Melissa vented about her mother due to stress, and minor arguments between the couple. Particularly shocking was how Eleanor skillfully used information obtained through the smartwatch. One file recorded a conversation where Melissa was discussing David's work concerns. 2 days later, Eleanor sent a message to David saying, "I've been thinking about your work problems," behaving as if she understood his concerns better than Melissa did. This isn't just surveillance, Melissa looked up at David. Mother is gathering information from our conversations and using it to get closer to you and create a rift between us. Eleanor is your mother. Why would she try to ruin her own daughter's marriage? David was perplexed. At that moment, old memories resurfaced in Melissa's mind, her mother's grief when her father died, and the subsequent loneliness. Eleanor had refused any relationships with men since her husband's death. Mother hasn't been with anyone since losing Dad, Melissa said slowly. Perhaps years of loneliness and loss have created these distorted emotions. And she's jealous of you, David continued. Of what you have, a happy marriage and family, which she lost. Melissa couldn't contain her distress. This is pathological. Mother needs help. David placed his hand on his wife's shoulder. We need to confront her. But we must do it in a way that doesn't affect Lily. You're right. Lily is already confused enough, Melissa took a deep breath. I'll call Mother here tomorrow. We'll present all the evidence and make her tell the truth. David nodded silently. We'll face this together. I'm on your side, Melissa. Melissa leaned into her husband's arms. The next day, a heavy atmosphere hung in the Browns' living room. Melissa had sent Lily to a friend's house and invited Eleanor over. On the table were the problematic smartwatch and a stack of printed emails. The doorbell rang, and Melissa took a deep breath before opening the front door. Eleanor wore her usual elegant smile, dressed in a fresh spring dress. She held a small cake box in her hand. Hello, Melissa, Eleanor leaned forward to kiss her cheek. I was wondering what was going on when you suddenly called me over. I brought dessert. Melissa did not accept her mother's affectionate gesture and stepped back. Come in, she said coldly. Eleanor seemed to notice her daughter's unusual attitude but said nothing and entered the house. In the living room, David sat on the sofa and merely nodded when he saw Eleanor. What's wrong? You both look so serious, Eleanor anxiously placed the cake box on the side table. Sit down, Mother, Melissa said in a stern tone. Eleanor obeyed and sat down in an armchair. What happened? Is Lily all right? I want to talk about Lily. Specifically, about what you gave her, Melissa pointed to the smartwatch on the table. Eleanor's expression hardened slightly. Oh, the smartwatch. She didn't like it? It was the latest model. It's not that she didn't like it, but rather that she stopped using it. Would you like to know why? Melissa said, watching her mother's reaction closely. How would I know? Eleanor said, seeming a bit uneasy. I can't understand the whims of young people. David spoke quietly. Eleanor, we know everything. What do you mean? Eleanor tried to smile, but her smile was unnatural. Melissa picked up the smartwatch, turned it on, opened the app displayed on the screen, and began playing a recorded conversation through the speaker. David, what time will you be home tonight? I promised to help Lily with her project. She stopped the recording and fixed her mother with a stern gaze. Would you care to explain, Mother? Why did you plant a listening app on Lily's smartwatch? The color drained from Eleanor's face. She opened her mouth as if searching for words, but nothing came out. You've been monitoring all our conversations at home, our private lives, everything, Melissa's voice trembled. I can't believe you would treat your own daughter this way. Eleanor finally spoke. I did it for your own good. I was just worried. Worried? David interrupted. This isn't just worry, Eleanor. This is criminal. It's an invasion of privacy. He picked up the stack of emails from the table and said, flipping through them one by one, and we also know that you've been trying to drive a wedge between Melissa and me using the information you recorded. Eleanor's expression began to change. From defensive, it gradually shifted to anger. You don't understand, she said in a low voice. What don't we understand? Melissa pressed. That you were trying to destroy your own daughter's marriage? You should be grateful. Eleanor suddenly raised her voice. How much I've cared about your family. You're always working, taking your wonderful husband and daughter for granted. David deserves better treatment. Silence filled the living room. Melissa and David were speechless with surprise and fear. Eleanor, David carefully chose his words. Please be clear about what you're trying to say. Eleanor seemed to have no intention of pretending anymore. A crazed light shone in her eyes, and she began to speak as if unable to hold back her words. David, you are such a wonderful man. Thoughtful, family-oriented, successful. Melissa doesn't appreciate your value. She's too absorbed in her career, neglecting her home. I could cherish you much more. Mother. Melissa gasped. What on earth are you saying? The truth. Eleanor stood up. Since Robert died, I've lived alone. No one understood my suffering. And you have everything I lost. A wonderful husband, family, happy home. But you take it all for granted. That doesn't give you the right to try to destroy my home. Melissa also stood up to face her mother. I understand you were lonely after Dad died. But that's your problem. It's wrong to try to solve it by using me, David, or Lily. David said calmly but firmly to Eleanor, Eleanor, your behavior is abnormal. I love Melissa. That won't change. No matter what you do, you can't destroy our marriage. Eleanor covered her face with both hands, looking flustered. You don't understand. What I did for you. I was trying to save you from Melissa's self-centered way of life. Save me? David frowned. I don't need saving. We are happy. Melissa is a wonderful wife and mother. Her career is part of her identity, and I'm proud of her success. Shock crossed Eleanor's face. But you're always taking care of Lily alone. I do so willingly, David declared. As a family, we support each other. I don't have any of the dissatisfaction you imagine. Melissa took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure. Mother, you need help. This behavior isn't healthy. You should consult a professional. There's nothing wrong with me. Eleanor shouted. The problem is with you too. You don't understand my feelings. David said quietly but firmly, we do not wish to have any further contact with you. At least not until you seek professional help. What? Eleanor turned pale. Mother, I can't let you see Lily anymore either, Melissa said sadly. You used her for your own purposes. That's unforgivable. Lily is my granddaughter. I have the right to see her. Eleanor was distraught. We are prepared to take legal action, David said. Using the smartwatch to eavesdrop is illegal. If you don't accept our conditions, we'll have to deal with this through a lawyer. Eleanor collapsed into a chair, trembling. You're trying to take everything away from me, even the last of my family. Melissa was pained by her mother's words but remained steadfast. This is something you brought upon yourself, Mother. We're just protecting our family. The conditions are simple, David said. See a psychiatrist. Continue treatment. And do not contact Lily without our permission. If you comply with these, we'll consider supervised visits in the future. Eleanor stood up crying. You are cruel. To treat your own mother this way. You're the one who's been cruel, Melissa replied quietly. Go home and think it over. Contact us when you're ready to accept our conditions. Without another word, Eleanor took her bag with trembling hands and headed for the door. Without looking back, she left the house. Melissa and David were silent for a long time. Eventually, Melissa leaned into her husband's arms and shed tears. Did we do the right thing? Yes, David said while rubbing her back. It might take time, but this is for everyone's good. Including Eleanor. The two watched Eleanor's figure disappearing in the distance through the window. 6 months later, the fall foliage on Maplewood Lane was beautiful. In the backyard of the Brown house, the cheerful sounds of Lily playing on the trampoline with her friends echoed. Melissa was brewing coffee while watching her daughter through the kitchen window. She's really regained her spirit, David approached from behind and put his arm around his wife's shoulder. Melissa nodded. The counseling was effective. Lily seems to understand that it wasn't her fault. Since that day, the family had gradually returned to normal. Lily had several sessions with a child psychologist and came to understand that Grandma's problem was an adult issue for which she bore no responsibility. Melissa and David also received couples counseling, and their bond had actually grown stronger through this ordeal. Did you read the letter from Mother? David asked. Melissa nodded. Yes. There seems to be progress. Eleanor had initially responded with anger and rejection for the first few weeks, but gradually came to recognize the gravity of her actions. The warning letter from the lawyer was also effective. Eventually, she accepted psychiatric consultation and began weekly therapy. The diagnosis revealed that unresolved feelings of loss and loneliness after her husband's death, along with dependency issues she had carried for years, were at the root of her behavior. Do you think she's really trying to change? Melissa said, gazing out the window. I think she's making an effort, David said gently. And the letter to Lily is a good sign. Eleanor had begun exchanging letters with Lily a while ago, under strict rules. The condition was that Melissa and David would check all the content, but it was still a first step in gradually repairing the relationship between grandmother and granddaughter. Honestly, I still can't completely trust Mother, Melissa sighed. But her acceptance of treatment is a good sign, isn't it? It will take time, David embraced his wife. What's important is that we've grown stronger as a family. Indeed, that incident had brought them closer. David and Melissa had begun to communicate more openly than before, sharing their feelings and concerns with each other. Lily had also become able to express her emotions more frankly. We might consider supervised visits next month, Melissa said cautiously. The therapist says Mother's progress is genuine. David nodded. If you feel ready. There's no need to rush. Family bonds aren't easily broken, Melissa smiled. Even when damaged, there are ways to repair them. Lily's laughter carried on the wind from the backyard. Melissa and David stood by the window, feeling hopeful about their daughter's bright future. Having overcome a difficult period, they had become stronger and wiser. And above all, they had reaffirmed the importance of family bonds. On the table lay the latest letter from Eleanor. Concluding with the words, "The journey of asking for forgiveness is long, but I will walk it one step at a time," the letter showed hope for a new beginning.